Welcome to the Podkey Summary of Bangerz. Today's story is really about how Bangerz worked on two levels at once, as Miley Cyrus's hard reset after Hannah Montana, and as a very early lesson in how internet-era pop fame could be converted into charts, clicks, and sales. It was messy, huge, divisive, and weirdly strategic. And looking back, a lot of what seemed like pure chaos in 2013 now looks like a blueprint. Bangerz was Miley Cyrus announcing that the old version of Miley was over, on purpose. She called it her official debut, which tells you how seriously she saw the break. Even though she'd already been massively famous, this was the project where she treated herself like she was starting from zero. She'd said she moved on from professional relationships that might have been uncomfortable with where her image was headed. And that matters because the album wasn't just a new sound. It was a full rejection of the safer career path she'd been expected to follow. The big gamble at the center of Bangerz was choosing an explicitly adult, sexually charged pop identity over the acting career she had previously planned to pursue. So the album's premise wasn't subtle at all. It asked whether a former Disney star could completely rewrite the terms of her fame in public, with everybody watching and judging in real time. Musically, Bangerz was just as restless as the image shift. Cyrus described it as a blend of dirty South hip-hop, country, pop, and R&B. And the finished album stretches even further than that, into trap pop, EDM, synth pop, and even touches of Motown. Some critics heard that as a genuinely individual kind of pop record, the sound of someone refusing to stay in one lane. Other people heard the same thing and thought it sounded messy, generic, or just not fully held together. That split is kind of the whole Bangerz experience. Depending on your mood, it could feel either boldly free or like somebody opened every tab in the browser at once. The rollout around Bangerz made one thing very clear. Controversy wasn't a side effect. It was part of the marketing engine. The clearest example is the 2013 MTV Video Music Awards performance with Robin Thicke, the one that basically swallowed pop culture for a minute. It generated 306,100 tweets per minute, which beat the previous Twitter record set by Beyoncé's Super Bowl performance. And the numbers right after that are what really make the point. Within days, Cyrus gained more than 213,000 Twitter followers, 226,000 Facebook likes, and 90,000 downloads of Wrecking Ball. So even if people were showing up to complain, they were still showing up in pop. Outrage has always had some commercial value, but Bangerz put a very modern, very trackable number on it. Wrecking Ball is where the economics of that moment really snap into focus. It became Miley's first #1 single in the US, and the video, with its now impossible-to-forget imagery, pulled in 19.3 million Vivo views in its first 24 hours. Then it hit 100 million views in only 6 days, which is the kind of number that makes a song feel less like a release and more like weather. What's especially interesting is that the song returned to #1 again in December 2013, helped by a viral chatroulette parody. At the time, that created the biggest gap between #1 stays in Billboard history. Basically, the internet gave the song a second life and changed its chart story after the usual promotion cycle should have cooled off. That's a huge part of why Bangerz feels important in hindsight. It showed that circulation online didn't just reflect popularity, it could actively reshape it. For all the giant foam finger energy people associate with this era, there's also a quieter emotional thread running through the album. Cyrus later described the songs as tracing a relationship arc that begins with Adore You and ends with Someone Else. Along the way, songs like Drive, Wrecking Ball, and Maybe You're Right deal with separation, uncertainty, and the strange feeling of becoming a different person while a relationship is falling apart. That emotional vulnerability is probably one reason the album lasted beyond the initial shock cycle. A party record can get attention, but heartbreak gives people something to come back to. Under all the noise, Bangerz still had an actual human story in it. Commercially, the album opened huge. Bangerz debuted at #1 on the Billboard 200 with 270,000 first-week copies, becoming Cyrus's fifth #1 album in the US. It was later certified triple platinum by the RIAA for 3 million album equivalent units. So this wasn't some short-lived curiosity. But the second week drop was sharp, down to 72,000 copies, and that became part of the conversation too. One commentator took that as evidence of a bigger market shift, where consumers were gravitating toward individual singles instead of really living with full albums front to back. And Bangerz fits that tension almost perfectly. It was absolutely an album event, but it was also powered by massive standalone songs and viral moments that could be consumed one piece at a time. Critically, the reception at the time was pretty mixed. The album landed a 61 on Metacritic, which is solidly in that respectable shrug zone. But even then, some outlets saw more in it. Entertainment Weekly ranked it third among the albums of 2013. Rolling Stone put it at 27th, and NPR ranked it 10th. As the years went on, the reassessment got stronger. Billboard and Consequence of Sound included it on decade-end lists, and later commentary increasingly treated Bangerz as a key pop cultural document. Part of that is because the album captured a turning point so clearly. Celebrity reinvention, internet virality, controversy as distribution, and the blurry line between personal expression and brand strategy. And part of it is the influence question. Later critics have credited Cyrus with helping open the door for newer stars making their own transitions into edgier pop personas. So Bangerz ends up being more than a scandalous pop era or a collection of hits. It's a record where the music, the image, the breakup story, and the internet all collided at full speed. And honestly, even if you never need to revisit every headline from that rollout, it's hard to ignore how much of today's pop playbook was already sitting right there in 2013. This episode was generated by Podkey. Create your own at podkey.fm.